I have written to myself that it's a prayer that I pray from time to time. And it's, may I be the youngest I've ever been the day I'm the oldest I'll ever be. More and more childlike. That's not childish. Big difference in those two words. Genius. Learning at warp speed when we were babies. All right, Thea. Good morning to you. Good morning.
Sorry, my mouse is a little bit slow.
How do you have a slow mouse?
Not, you ask me.
Got a fast cat somewhere around.
Well, no cat, but there is a dog over here, so I don't know if that's the reason.
Okay.
So, okay. Are you all with me?
Yes.
Very, very, very good. So, just as a short introduction before we take off for part 2, welcome. If you're new, then just hang on. There's a lot of stuff that we will cover that will make total sense, even if you haven't been here last week. And if you have been here last week, we always use a little bit of introduction first to get our hearts centered of what we're going to do, a little bit of refreshment of what we did last week. And for those who are new, that they get some impression of where we are and what we are about. So ancient Hebrew reveals learning how to learn at the speed of light. And everything that we do is based on ancient Hebrew. And this is ancient Hebrew wisdom. The ox on the left and the lion on the right. The heart of the wise is to the right and the heart of the fool is to the left. So you tie the things together. Ancient Hebrew absolutely declares that God did not create dummies. No dummies. God created a genius code inside the human DNA. And in fact, it is that every baby is a genius. What you see here is a 2-year-old genius studying math. You are brilliant because the Father creates geniuses and every baby is a genius. You are brilliant. Our problem, though, is that our schools, our industries, our organizations, our self-help programs, and our religious institutions have not known and have not taught us, because they didn't know, how to use our most innate God-given ability, our lion genius. 2 things we were not taught in school: how to read and how to think. Now, most of you will say, yeah, I know how to read. Not how the ancient Hebrew defines read and think. And that is exactly where the problem is. Ancient Hebrew is teaching us and declaring that Hebrew thinking is in the heart and it thinks in images. So the first time that the heart is introduced in ancient Hebrew, it is in one entity, the images of the thoughts of the heart. Image and thoughts describe how the heart functions. You cannot take them apart. You cannot say that sometimes this is how the heart functions. It thinks, and it thinks in images. Okay, that is really, really, really important for everything we do with Rediscover the Heart, and also in here in the learning how to learn. If we understand this, So what we discover is that images is the language of the heart, not the words. Our native language, the language of the heart, the language that we're all born in and that we're all fluent in from the moment that we're born, is images. Okay? And then later on, we collect words to describe the images that we see in the heart, and that is how we communicate with words. So the Genius Code is a visual language because it is the language of the heart. And the definition of genius is the capacity to see what can't be seen. Geniuses see what can't be seen. Not only these people, not only that these people have some kind of secret equipment, they just discovered how to use the equipment, the same equipment that you and I have, how to use them better or more naturally. We all have the same equipment, and we can learn to use it. And when we do that, then ancient Hebrew reveals that we can go from D's to A's and from A's to better A's at the speed of light. There are some insights that we're going to cover in depth, but they're the key insights of the heart that are really, really, really key to understanding what we are about over here. And applying these insights has everything to do with learning how to learn. So one is that we are where our hearts are. We cannot possibly be anywhere else. If you have been in a previous Rediscovery of the Heart Saturdays, we have done those, we have covered those, but today we're going to cover them specifically to learning how to learn. So we are where our hearts are. We cannot possibly be anywhere else. We do not see things the way things are, but we see things the way we are. What we really believe is what we believe in our hearts. And our heart makes decisions automatically and instantaneously. Applying these insights to what we're going to do in about learning is going to change everything, is going to change the entire learning paradigm. These insights are absolutely key. Larry?
Well, it's just an amazing thing that when we slow down and we really realize that the images of the thoughts of the heart are describing how the heart functions. We've talked a lot about Damasio. It's impossible to have a thought without an image. Now, the problem is that we've been trained in a left brain world by left brain oxen, and they train and dominate all the learning institutions. And so we have this situation that has developed that causes us to be, many of us, so left that we don't know that we think in images. We'd absolutely deny it, which is me, left. If the Father hadn't woke me up in '84 and told me to study it, and I came on this very verse, first time the word heart's mentioned, and that time, that day, even though I had the verse marked for 30 years, that day, something happened. And that something happened changed everything for me. So learning how to learn is based on recognizing that we learn from the image maker much better when the image maker is actively engaged than we do if we ignore it and just try to get everything with the intellect, okay? So we start into this, we're going to talk about the whole flow that we talked about last week that we need to come back to. Thea, just take me back to any slide, get any slide that's up. Well, we can just take this one. We spent this time last week that learning how to learn at the speed of light. So let me illustrate it like this. Am I being seen, Thea? I don't see me. I see you, but I don't see me. And of course, I don't hear you because you're muted.
That is absolutely true. If you change your settings, if you're in gallery mode or speaking mode, then you can see yourself. Okay. But you are seen.
Okay, because yeah, I feel like I'm talking to people more when it's just not secret, when I'm not just going off somewhere. All right, thank you. All right, so on the slide that she has up here, our hearts make decisions automatically and instantaneously. We covered this last week, that what this is all about, and we're going to go into it in more detail, but learning how to learn the speed of light works like this. If everybody would close their eyes, and I want you to open your eyes and see how long it takes you to be able to see, when your eyes open, everything that's in the room you're in. Well, you do that at the speed of light, don't you? Your eyes are closed, and then you open your eyes, and instantly you see everything that's out here, because you're seeing with the physical eyes at the speed of light. But if I ask you to close your eyes, and then I say, can you see your mother? Well, most of us would instantly be able to see our mother, or whoever served as our mother, as an aunt for me, but it takes me, I see her instantly, and I can even say, when do you want me to see her? When she was 30? Want me to see her when she was 40? Want me to see her at 70? Want me to see her at 100, almost 106 when she passed? When do you want me to see her? And I can do all those just like that. The minute you could say, what did she look like at 70? I can go to 70. What did she look like at 105? I can go to 105. They was there and helped me sing to her and watch me feed a Frosty to her just a few months before she died. So I can go there. That's not hard for me to go there. It's hard for me to stay there because I miss her, and I love being able to be there feeding her Frosty, okay, because she'd served me well. But the point is, if I say, close your eyes, can you see your car? Bam, it's at the speed of light, okay? So it's learning that the image maker operates at the speed of light, just like the physical eyes operate at the speed of light. So that's where we are. So now let's go to this next slide about 3 mentoring mistakes you must avoid, because we talked about teaching your child, learning how to learn the speed of light. I can't see the words on this. It's too blown up. Can you reduce the size of it at all?
There are no words here.
Oh, well, there is on mine. Okay, I got you. This didn't work for me, so let's go back to the other one. This is for new folks. Can you go back to the slide that was before? Yeah, okay. Learning how to learn. Pick it in. Let's do the speed of light, because that's black and white. That'll be easier to see. So can you close your eyes and see speed of light? If you can't, open them, look again, close again, and go speed of light. I can see it. And I can see it instantaneously with my eyes closed. If you can't see it, just open and look again. It's that fast. If I'm studying in the script and I'm looking at a verse and I want to meditate on the verse, I look at the verse, close my eyes, keep the verse, and I read it out loud. I read it out loud with my eyes closed, but I'm reading what I've taken a picture of, and I've got it on the inside. Now, it took me a while to learn how easy it was for me to learn to do that. It wasn't hard for me to learn to do that. It just took some practice because I'd never been taught to do that. But that's what this is all about. When a child is learning at the speed of light, they're learning with their eyes closed and the eyes of the heart functioning full bore. That's what it is. And this, for some of you that don't know this story, this is the way that I took a son that had made bad grades all the way. Once third, fourth grade, he started having trouble. We did the 8th grade over. He made generous D's all the way through his sophomore year, and we had him tested for learning disability. That was absurd. But if we hadn't had him testing for learning disability, we wouldn't have found out what was going on, because when he was tested, the woman that tested him said he's the most right-brained child I've ever tested. I never heard those words. It was 84. Sperry made his won his Nobel in 81. And still most of the world is ignoring left brain, right brain, except to talk about this different gifting, and said the significance of it is totally lost because the man who coined the words left brain, right brain doesn't understand how they work. He understands functionally. He doesn't understand down in the depth because he didn't start in ancient Hebrew. We've looked at that at other times. Imagine the man who coined the words left brain, right brain, says the left's the significant one. Don't leave home without the left. It's where all the action is. And it totally is discounted by all the revelation about how the right functions. And so, as this lady was describing to me all the functions of the right, I turned to Kim and said, she's describing the Hebrew heart. What we're talking about here could turn the world upside down, but it won't. The vested interests are much, much, much too strong. We may, at the end of this, get some time to cover some of the other experts that are on the edge of it, but they've never clicked in full bore on it because, again, they're not starting in ancient Hebrew. They're starting someplace along the way. So this
Larry?
is, yes, ma'am. Go.
Larry, I think it's also always good to explain that when we say, well, you look at this, the speed of light. Now, can you close your eyes? Can you see it? Of course, we do not see it with these eyes. It's not the same kind of seeing. And what you just said, can you close your eyes and see your mother? Yeah, I can see, and I have a lot of kind of pictures of my mother. I was just on the phone with my son for about half an hour. And when he was talking about how he is working and studying, I picture him sitting at his computer. And when he's talking about, his car that had died out, I'm seeing his car on the parking lot. And so, and when I ask him how his wife is doing, and I see her, I don't see him anymore, I see her. So my pictures constantly move with what we're talking about. And that is what we're talking about here. Those pictures, they move continually. Every time we speak about something, we see the pictures that are connected to it.
Yeah.
And everybody does that.
And what causes any language to be a foreign language to us is because we don't have any images that go with our sounds. So left brain people, which most of us are, deny that we think in pictures, because the words are so embedded that we think, no, I know what that word is. I know what that word is. Yeah, you do, because the image is there in the heart, functioning whether you recognize it or not. Now, this is bringing it full bore because ancient Hebrew never intended for us to, to let our image maker go totally blank and be sitting over here functioning, because when it functions on its own, then it gets loaded up with all the negative. And we live a life, all of our life, with images that were established a long time ago in the heart that have us blocked right now. There's a man that I'm in some ongoing discussion with right now. Brilliant man, and he's proved it so many ways. But he still is experiencing the pain of being thought and being talked like he was dumb. It comes out in almost every conversation with him. Okay? So we talked about how can any child really be happy if they think they're dumb. If the school systems prove that your child is dumb, then there's something down underneath. I'm stupid, I'm dumb, I'm slow. And I can tell you, with all the participants that we've got here, almost 150, I can tell you that at least a third and probably even half have thought, I can't learn at the pace of everybody else. I'm slower than everybody else. Now we run to cover it up, but still that feeling down on the inside. I can't get it. I can't get it like that little smart kid. Well, that little smart kid happens to be more left than he is right, and he's picking up that way it's being taught, and he'll soar. He'll soar in math, he'll soar in words, he'll soar in all that kind of thing, because he functions more out of that world that he's being taught out. Okay, so anyway, that's the point, that learning how to learn at the speed of light means learning with the eyes closed, material, like what is exactly in the slide. Ancient Hebrew reveals. Learning how to learn at the speed of light. You can take a picture of that. As you practice, you can take a picture of the whole thing. And that's a wonderful thing. That's what we're about. So now we're going to come into, there's 3 mentoring mistakes you must avoid. We're going to assume that everybody here knows now to work with yourself, work with grandkids, work with anybody else, and teach them how to learn at the speed of light. And I feel a need to just remind you that I took a son that went from D's to A's like this. And he went to D's from A's like this when I told him to close his eyes and see if he could still see a schematic in a USA Today in 1984 that had 4 different large incomes on them, 6 figures or more. The one making D's closed his eyes and said, "Yes, I can see it." When I said, "Are you sure?" He said, "I can see it." I said, "Hand me the paper." And I asked him what George Bush had made the year before. It was 7 figures, and he told me. And then he told me the other 3. Then 14 hours later, nearly asleep, I asked him again, and he told me all 4. Photographic memory. And he's making D's, generous D's. Now, there's many, many, many others like this, and we've seen it. My banker, I told about my banker. I spent about 10 or 15 minutes. No, I didn't spend that long time. Probably 5 minutes with my banker 6 years ago with a son that was just struggling up a storm in school. He went home just with a little bit of instruction that I gave him, unlocked his son who's graduating from engineering school with honors. How's that possible? Well, it's because the genius was being ignored. So now we're going to talk about how do you work with a child or yourself or anybody else. Mentoring mistakes you must avoid. The very first one is pressure of any kind. That's what Mount St. Helens exploding represents, pressure of any kind. So let's talk about what that pressure would look like, how that pressure would function. This will be your most difficult lesson to learn in order to be a successful mentor. Excuse me. We do not remotely recognize how easy it is for our children to interpret sincere instructions negatively. Those negative images come from poor word choices or tone of voice or body language. Heaven forbid that they come from all 3 at once. Understand, that's your failure, not your student. Failure to learn is a mentor's problem. It's never a student's problem. If you will accept that, the whole world changes. Requiring your student to have disciplined study habits is not the kind of pressure we're addressing here. It may be okay to say, okay, you're going to study, you're going to spend this amount of time. There's some reasonable thing about study habits, but the pressure we're talking about here is a completely different kind of pressure. Your own personal learning curve is absolutely critical. You have to accept that your students' difficulties are a result of your lack of knowledge. Yours. What did I say to my son after I had unlocked him? Then we got back to school and he walks in the door, and the first test that he shows me is a D, in spite of what we'd done. What did I say to him? That's Papa's D. That's my D. That's not your D. That's mine. And it has to become your own personal conviction that you're the mentor. And you have to know, one of the things that I get to say many, many times to people, and I love saying it, I know who you are and you don't. That's an incredible thing. And that's the way that we need to be with every single student. I know how smart you are and you don't. I'm going to teach you how to use the genius equipment that's inside you. Okay. If it becomes your conviction that it's your responsibility, then you'll take it as easy on your student as you do yourself. We all take it easy on ourselves. After all, everyone's starting over. So we're talking about grace for you because you don't know how to do this, and grace for your student. But if you accept that learning how to learn is your responsibility and not your students, then you know you need grace because you're going to mess up and it's going to be slow for you sometimes. But that's where it's all about. So here's the second mentor mistake: too much, too fast, too soon. Too much. Look at this. Don't despise small beginnings. When the lion genius begins to crawl, get out of the way. So a sandy beach is a perfect place to practice. Who cares if it's dark and chilly? Mama's nearby and Eli's lion is on the prowl. That's my grandson. The gentle revolution's first major discovery was the importance of crawling for a baby's mental development. Crawling is, in fact, a baby's first steps. We must never forget this foundation truth when we're taking our student from D's to A's or from A's to better A's is the speed of light. Your student must learn to crawl before they walk and walk before they run. Amazingly, almost all parents, schools, and learning systems ignore this most basic principle of development when it comes to education. This carelessness creates a ridiculous learning environment where children are exposed to material that's too difficult for them to learn at their current state of development. The learning curve is too steep. Walking, much less running, is not only hard, it's impossible. You got to crawl first. So the very first steps of learning to just close your eyes and see a single word and see it is crawling. Okay? Crawling is a fun experience and is much more essential to healthy growth than we can ever imagine. Learning becomes hard. Now, I love this thought. Babies love learning because learning is fun. God designed learning to be fun. And learning is fun for every person that is learning. Learning is fun for every person that's learning. But learning stops the instant your student is asked to learn too much, that's too difficult, which produces nothing but, listen carefully, blank images on the screen of the heart. Blank images. You got to really, really get this. It's like I used the word just in our conversation with Thea just a few minutes ago. And I asked her if in a certain situation, if it's, that she's not being asked to grovel. Guess what she said? What's grovel? Okay? Because that's not a word that's in her vocabulary. So she could not say, yes, I'm not, or no, I still am, because the screen went blank instantly when I said grovel. We had a lot of fun a couple of years ago when I was talking to her about yarn, and she immediately said, what's yarn? And I said, you know, yarn, like in an Afghan. She said, what's an Afghan? So I'm not getting anywhere with this woman, see, because I'm using words that she has no pictures for. If she has no pictures, the screen's blank and she doesn't know what we're talking about. That's what happens with us and every single student. The minute that somebody tries to take me to 3 when I didn't get the relationship between 1 and 2. When I get 1 and 2, by the way, some of you that are involved with us in the business world over here, that's the very thing that's happening with everybody with the math model. You're trying to turn one part into something that's not. Instead of 1 step, 2 step, 3 step, it's 3. Everything changes with 3. It's that simple. Okay, so here we go. Your role, I love this statement. Listen to this. The lion can get it right when the teacher stops getting it wrong. Oh, man. Now, by the way, last week, in case anybody's here that's new that's a teacher, last week, we talked about honoring teachers, that teachers teach like they were taught. So we blame the system, love the teacher, and love our students more. And the reason we have to love our students more is because if they get the wrong teacher, they're going to need a lot of love for us, because a lot of teachers won't acknowledge that they don't know what they're doing. They won't. They won't have the foggiest idea. They'll just say, well, this person doesn't get it. Okay? They blame the student. If you don't get what I'm teaching and I really understand it, guess whose fault I accept that it is? It's mine and not yours. We just need a little bit more time, and we need more illustrations, because if I really understand something, I don't have just one way to explain it. I can use different illustrations. Somebody that understands. Okay, so what's the first one? The first one is just off the chart, doing things that are just bad, just pressure of any kind. If this is not a fun situation, then stop doing it for a while. Say, go play, we'll come back at this later. Don't make it a negative experience. No pressure whatsoever. No blame of the student, period. No blame. Okay? All right. Now, learning how to learn. Speed of light means we don't try to teach too much. That's too difficult, too fast. All right. So now the third one. Third mistake is go to jail. Go to directory jail. Don't pass go, don't collect $200. This disastrous mistake is made when the instructor pushes the student to point 3 before point 2 has been properly understood in relationship to point 1. I've already said that, but this is the third point. It's amazing how often this obvious learning principle is ignored, and this broken rule sends your child directly to jail. Excuse me. They don't pass go. They don't collect $200. The blank screen problem that an imageless word produces pales in comparison to the dark void that occurs when a subject has to be learned step by step, like math or a foreign language, and any step is not understood in its proper sequence. In those kind of learning, it's just horrible. This jailhouse experience can last a lifetime. And we've got it. We've got people here, I know, that think they're dumb. And why did they think they're dumb? They don't think they're dumb on the basis of something that happened today. They think they're dumb on the basis of lots of these experiences in the past that convinced them they were dumb when they didn't get it and the teacher went right on. Okay. That's permanent until it gets changed. That's why I've had grown men with tears in their eyes grab me and hug me that never hugged a man in their life, because I just told them about Jamie and said, this room is full. We got 500 people in here, and this room is full of people that down deep have thought you were dumb. And many of you have got the grades to prove it. Does everybody hear the significance of that? You're dumb, and you have the grades to prove it. Grades don't prove anything except you couldn't learn the way that left brain world was teaching you. That's amazing. Okay. All right. This jailhouse experience can last a lifetime, and most of us know this from personal experience without understanding why. Suffice it to say that we're capable of learning anything if we're taught by a great teacher who refuses to introduce us to point 10 until we fully understood points 1 through 9. Unfortunately, we neither had those teachers nor have we been those teachers. You can stop this go to jail directly practice by monitoring the sequential, step-by-step comprehension of your student. The image maker can supply your student with a lifetime supply of get out of jail free cards. Why would grown men follow me in tears? Because I just gave them a huge get out of jail free card. And they've been in jail 65 years. So we have to talk about a disclaimer. When's a disclaimer not a disclaimer? If your child's been diagnosed with autism or brain damage, the learning curve may take longer, but rest assured that the speed of light moment will come the instant that your child understands that words create images and that those images and action, listen to me, words create images and images and action reveal the meaning of the word. Never get up. Autistic children can get this. Brain damaged children can get this. How do we know brain damaged children can get it? Because the number one breakthrough for the whole gentle revolution of teaching your baby math and teaching your baby to read and teach your baby encyclopedia came from a mama who didn't give up on a child that they said, your child's like a vegetable, they'll never learn anything. And mama knew this is not a vegetable. And mama stayed with this child. And the breakthrough for that whole learning thing came through a mama that didn't give up on a child that had zero control over anything. Incredible. That's a great story. It's in the Rediscover the Heart material. So let's look at a fundamental here that we're going to get. This is the secret language. If you can become a member of this tribe that understands this language, then you can help us change the world. We've got a real language. It's the language of lying geniuses. And the word is Iznaki. That's it. That's the word, Iznaki. It's the secret language of geniuses. And nobody knows it except geniuses. Iznaki. So stay with that because we're going to get a real clear picture of what Iznaki is really, really all about. So now we're going to talk about how to learn at the speed of light. So the speed of light learning event is line learning, okay? So there's one more, maybe not, okay. The first speed of light event occurs the moment we see the facts, we see the words. Seeing anything takes place at the speed of light, both with physical eyes and the eyes of the heart. We just talked about that, okay? We can what? I can look and I can close my eyes and open my eyes and see ancient Hebrew reveals learning how to learn, and I see it at the speed of light. But I can close my eyes and still at the speed of light see it. But I'm seeing it with the image maker. I'm not seeing it with these physical eyes. I'm seeing it with what ancient Hebrew scripture calls the eyes of the heart. The eyes of the heart is the image maker eyes. The eyes of the soul are these right here. Okay. So this first event, exercise, changes everything. So let's look at it. We're going to do the first event. We're going to do it slow. First one is eye. So close your eye and see if you can see the letter I. If you can't, open, then close your eyes again. And this is what you do with a child. But many times somebody say, no, I can't see anything. But they think, well, I can't see it. I just close my eyes. Of course you can. But if you look at it, and white on black works better, because if you stare at that long enough, if I would say, everybody stare at this for 30 seconds, I believe, I can't remember, I've not done this in some time, but if you just stare at it for 30 seconds or a minute and close your eyes, you can't help but see it because it's just burned in there over and over and over and over and over. Okay, that's I. I'm assuming you can see it. Now let's go to I can. See if you can do that. I can. I can what? Let's go to the next one. I can see. If you can close your eyes and you can see. I can see. Then I'm going to tell you a secret. With your eyes closed, look at it again. If you can see it, you can spell it backwards. So look at it, close your eyes, and spell it backwards. Oh my, I think it's Iznaki. The genius language is Iznaki. What is it? It is I can see, spelled backwards. Any word that appears on the image maker, if it's really there, the proof that you are seeing it is that you can spell it backwards, because a genius is spelling a word that doesn't exist. And only a genius can spell a word that don't exist. Now, you can have incredible fun with this, with whoever you're working with, because it's pretty simple. You can go down the highway and you can pass trucks with signs on them, and you can pass signs on a road, all that kind of stuff. And you can just say, okay, look at it with a grandchild or with a child or whoever you're working with. Do it yourself. I drive down the highway and do this all the time. I play. I'll look at a sign, turn away, and then I will spell it. Now, I don't have to close my eyes to do that, because I can get it on the image maker without closing my eyes. But it's still fun. It's fun to see a word, particularly when you've not done it for a while. And you say, well, wait a minute, I'm not as good as this as I used to be. I've not been practicing enough. Okay. But when they can see that, you have your student read out loud with their eyes closed. When they say they can't see it, it's no big deal. You just have them open their eyes, look again, start over. Usually after a couple of times, they can get it, and it's as easy as ABC. I can see. Now, I'm going to say something here. It's really, really important. When your child can do this simple step, I wish I had the words to communicate this. When your child can do this and can see this with their eyes closed and can spell it backwards, their life changes forever. Surprise, surprise. If your student is seeing I can see with their physical eyes closed, they've entered the right brain visual words. Your student is using the eyes of the heart. And reading out loud with the eyes closed is essential, because reading out loud is the way your student proves that they can see with the eyes of the heart. However, reading out loud goes much deeper than obvious. When we read out loud, much more learning takes place than with words seen but not vocalized, because the sounds of the words, that we're into frequencies and vibrations, aren't we? When the sounds of the word creates auditory digital images in the neurons and the synapses of the brain hearing center. Did you hear me say digital images? Their digital images are not visual images, but they're images nonetheless that get stored in the hearing center. The vibrations from our voice box move throughout our entire body, which brings cellular memory into the learning process. When we hear the sound of the words, as well as seeing with our eyes closed, our hearts become full of the contents, because the heart is really holding the programming of all of the physical senses out here. The programming is in the heart. Okay. Our hearts and our tongues are connected in ways that can't even start to be calculated. And the connection is maximized when the words of our soul, the words that our soul read, are in the realm of the closed eyes with our fully engaged image maker. Now, this is a wonderful thing to do, is have your son ready to make your student. I said son, I was thinking about my son. Now have your student ready to make their grand announcement. Look at this. My lion genius is free. out loud with eyes closed. My lion genius is free. It's amazing. And I love this next one. These will be seen more clearly in the book. I know you're not, some of you might be getting screenshots and some aren't. Okay, here's the next part that's really critical. The hard part's over. The hard part of learning is over because the genius can now be engaged. Once your student is seeing words, short sentences, or clauses with their physical eyes closed, they're ready for the maximum line learning experience. This is the first. The first is how to take the words and turn those words into a picture so the words can be read. Okay. But now we're going to go to the maximum learning experience. So when the physical eyes are open, we're reading words from a printed page or a computer screen. That's what you're doing right now. When you see those, that's what you're doing. The physical eyes, when they're open, that's what we're reading. Until now, your students have been reading words on a printed external page. When we read words with the eyes open, the left brain ox with its word focus is in control and the right brain lines in the cage. But the world just changed. It's no longer that. So there's another way we can do it. When the physical eyes are closed, then the words are being read from a picture frame appearing on the image maker screen. Now we've made a picture of it. It's no longer the words on a computer screen or on a book or on anything out here. We've turned it into a visual image. It's a picture. And now we're reading from a picture or photographic memory. That's what's happening here. All right, now we're ready to go big time. We're learning from a captured image. See, this is Whole Time magazine. They had an interesting article. They're starting to discover 2 different times. They had the baby, what's the IQ gene in a baby? And then they're finding out, whoa, all these babies are learning from captured images. See, science is finally catching up to ancient Hebrew, but they're missing the implications of it because they don't go to ancient Hebrew to find out what the heart's about. Okay? All right. Right brain learning begins when the line frames a picture of the printed word. Only the right brain line can see the framed picture with the image maker. The ox can now read the words the line's showing it. That's how we can read out loud, because the line is showing the ox the words, sharing with it. The created order has been restored. The lion's in the lead and the ox is following. That's what we want. Okay. Right back to where ancient Hebrew says it is. The heart of the wise is to the right, the heart of the fools to the left. And God gave that to Solomon years and years and years before Roger Sperry ever said it. Okay. So things are exactly like they should be. Now we're ready to talk about what is the maximum learning experience. Now, this is fun. And this is off the charge important. You all are more blessed than you recognize, because what we're talking about here could and should change the world. Could and should. But the battle is intense because of the vested interests of the left brain oxen. Lion learning requires double vision. The maximum line learning experience means that there are 2 pictures that must be seen for the line genius to really roar. The word as a picture and the image that is the reality named by the word. Now, we looked at Helen Keller. Maybe we'll look at part of that again. The first speed of light learning event is when the written word is seen on the image maker with the physical eyes closed. The eyes of the heart are seeing the written word as a picture. When the physical eyes are closed and you can still see the lion, then the lion is being read by the image maker in the eyes of the heart. It's not being read out here. So if you can do that, you're in a wonderful place. You're not at maximum learning, but you're taking in the word, or you're taking in a fact. Now that's the setup for really learning how to learn at the speed of light. The second speed of light learning event occurs when the actual lion represented by the name appears on the image maker. The actual lion is the meaning of the word. The word lion becomes the lion. Oh, I love this. You don't know how much I love it. One of the things we talk about all the time in learning how to learn at the speed of light, and what we talk about in Rediscover the Heart, is there's a huge difference between definitions and meaning. A definition is when we can define a word, but we don't know what it means. And in Hebrew, you only know what a word means when you experience what the word definition says. When you experience it, now you know the meaning. Well, that's the same thing here. What good does it do if Thea had just been reading what I said to her? Are you being asked to grovel? And she saw the word and she pronounced the word, she would still be totally lost with a blank screen the minute she saw the word grovel. Why? Because she's never seen the word grovel before. She has 0 images that go with grovel. It's a blank screen. You could give her a test and say, what was the question that was asked? Are you still being asked to grovel? She can make an A on an exam if that was on the exam and still not know what the word means. Now ask how many times, how much of your life and my life can we think that we know something because we can define it, but we've never experienced it? How about love? And how about peace? And how about truth? How about light and life? How about those words? We can talk about them all day. How much light do we have? How much life do we experience? How much peace is authentic? How much truth is really truth? Those are all experiential. Okay, so this is it. This is huge. And we're going to come to amazing, amazing breakthrough. The real lion is the meaning of the word. Maximum lion learning requires 2 images, not 1. 2, we have to be double vision. The essential nature of double vision is the theme of the Hebrew insight that allows the freed lion to roar. It's not just that the lion's free, but it's free to roar and be the lion in its full expression. So what's that look like? What's it like to roar like a lion? Well, we have this profound insight that we teach from the Rediscover the Heart. There's no Hebrew root word for the word word. Dale, why don't you talk about this and I'll take a break.
Sure. Sorry. What we're talking about here is the root word. Every Hebrew word has a root word that has a root meaning, and out of that root word you can grow a tree with branches that all have that same root word, but now you add different things to it. So you always have the same letters. There's always 3 letters are a root. Like what you see over here, dabar, you see 3 Hebrew letters. Those are the roots. And out of those 3 root letters grows a tree that is branching out, and you can make different words by adding letters before, in between, and at the end. But they're all connected to the same root, and they're all connected to that same meaning, always. You cannot disconnect that. Now, the root meaning of dabar is not word, is not to speak, but is the reality, the essence, the thing itself, and not the label. Now, we said something at the very beginning. In order to communicate the language of the heart, that is images, we use words that express the images and the experiences that we have in the heart. But if we only view them as labels and not the thing itself, we are on an intellectual level, on a conceptual level, and not on an experiential level on the heart. A beautiful picture of this is if you are dying of thirst, you have been running and it's a hot day, and the first place you're kind of out in nature and it is a hot day and you've been running out there and you come at the first place that is coming that you see something of a settlement, a city, some kind of where actual people live, is my house. And I see you coming and I see you sweating and your head is red as a tomato and I see that you're exhausted and I see that what you really need, you need a glass of water. I run inside. I write on a piece of paper, a glass of water. And I hurry to come to meet you. And very, very, very careful, trying not to spill a drop, I hand you the piece of paper. Here, a glass of water for you. Is it going to help you? Of course not. It's not the words that are going to help you. But if I would bring you a real glass of water, that would help you. So it is not the words on a piece of paper, but it is the reality that those words represent. That is what we're talking about here.
So if you know the word, if you see the word line and you can read it, but you don't know what a line is, you still don't know what it means. So lions roar to sound out their rulership over their prey or their kingdom. And your student roars when they capture the reality. What's the reality? The meaning of the word. The word label is only the seed. Names and concepts are full of potential, but the label is dormant until it can be seen and understood in its essence, in its substance. So, here's a beautiful picture. This changes everything in your life if we get the, we keep saying that, but there's a repetition of these things because it's a fractal. Every single thing comes back to the same issue, that the language of the heart is images. The images of the thoughts of the heart. We're repeating it many different ways, but it's the same message. So the word that is the seed, there's a picture of a seed of a rose, but it's not a rose. It's a seed. What's next to it's the rose. Why do you plant a seed? A rose seed? Because you'd like to have a rose. How simple is that? The word is the seed. The reality, the substance, the essence is what that is in its fullness, not just the seed, okay? Left brain knowledge focuses on words, labels, concepts. Ancient Hebrew focuses on words as realities, not labels. Every Hebrew root relates to its external reality. Every Hebrew root can be seen, heard, smelled, tasted, and touched. The lion feeds on action, not concepts. Hebrew roots deal with function, not appearance. Now, these are some places that if we were in a room where we could say, let's take a 30-minute break and just let everybody kind of discuss what's been, we'll pick up and go some more. Wish we could do that. Maybe sometime we'll be able to. But let's just watch this. Hebrew roots deal with function, not appearance. Reality, not representation. So look at this. How would you describe this? So look at it and describe it. Just take your quick note. See if you can think of a couple of things that you would say that describe this. Okay, let me tell you how a left brain ox would describe it. The Western right brain ox. It's yellow, it's pointed on one end, it's an eraser on the other end, it's 5 inches long. Ancient Hebrew would be, you're right with it. function, not appearance, action, not label. But the Westerns say, what is this? Describe this. You say, well, and we start describing. But ancient Hebrew would say, you're right with it. That's the function. Hebrew understanding is a heart issue, not an intellect issue. This explains why knowing a word, well, without understanding its essence, is without seeing the word in action, is shallow and incomplete. Don't ask me how shallow I am. Don't ask me how incomplete I am, because that directly has to do with how many words that I can talk about that I can't experience, that I can say how I ought to be, and then I get up into something totally different than what I ought to be, because my programming is still based off of the way that I am and the way that I've been for a long period of time. Okay. All right. The five senses and how they relate to the external world. We're going to look at these because these are critical to the whole learning process. Your outer man. So Thea, talk about this, please. You're muted.
So your outer man is your soul body. The sensory receptors. It is 100 million sensory receptors. And that is how we relate to the physical words, to the physical world. We see, we smell, we touch, we hear, we taste. All of those is how we relate to the external world. So whether you see here Yaniv viewing over the Grand Canyon, or Brian and Kelly's hilarious music, or Liliana sniffing or being sniffed, Mountain Mama's ice cream delight, or Katie nuzzling her horse. These are all about real things that can be seen, heard, smelled, tasted, or touched. Realities have mass, they have substance, and when we learn information as data only, the information is lifeless and dead. Authentic experience does not exist with imageless words. Your student must be taught that they don't really know a word until they can describe its mass, its essence, and its function accurately. When the image maker engages fully, words become three-dimensional objects that have meaning. The word sun becomes the sun. This lively activity takes place when we return to our playful image maker that has been suppressed by the left brain dominance in our school system. It was what I was relating to when I was talking about the phone call I had with my son. While he was describing things and he was sharing things, my image maker went from one object to the other. Now, I wasn't seeing words. I wasn't seeing the word car. I wasn't seeing the word work. I wasn't seeing the word paper. I was seeing all the pictures that I already had stored. Now, I was seeing his car on his parking lot, not my car on my parking lot, or a general car. I was seeing exactly the images that I have already stored in my heart. They are realities to me. And that is how I follow along. Yeah. That's how I see. So
this lively activity of being able to go from the word the sun to the image of the sun itself, when that lively activity takes place, then we return to the playful image maker that's been suppressed by the left brain dominance of our school systems. Rest assured that the image maker is an expert in turning lifeless words into labels, into action-packed scenes loaded with substance. That's what it started doing as a baby before it ever learned the words, or before it could ever speak the words. It still understood. Our image maker has been doing just that, turning labels and words in the action past scenes have been doing that every day of our lives. The image maker is the lost treasure that every baby uses to learn how to walk, to talk, and respond to the environment by watching their parents, their siblings, and adults in live action. In the electronic age, finding images of the real masks that the word represents is often just seconds away. This is just amazing to me. We've moved to a place in time that the speed of intelligence being really activated can be at warp speed. And it's because of what's available to us right here. So let's say you live in a big city and you have a young student and their screen went blank on the words plowing with a tractor. Blank. Instantly, the screen is blank. Plowing with a tractor. Gravel, yarn, Afghan, blank screen. They can say a few words she can say to me in Hebrew, and I know. She can say other words with the Hebrew, I'm totally blank. If she says anything to me in Dutch, there's one that I could probably get if she said it, which has to do with their whole world of branding. The way they use it is about creating an image. Okay, that word. But that's it for me. I don't know any Dutch. Okay, image not found. All right. The screen is blank for plowing and blank for a tractor. Now watch it. It took me 9 seconds with Google Images to have scores of pictures of tractors plowing fields. 9 seconds. And I had this picture. 9 seconds. Guess what? YouTube took me 10 seconds to find live action plowing. So deadly blank screens were replaced by the reality that the word label had failed to produce. When the reality that the word represents is seen, the image maker is no longer blank. The word labels now have meaning. The left brain data has been brought to life by right brain images. It's profound, it's life-changing, it's quick, and it's simple. Ancient Hebrew learning is imitated in Google Images. It's just there, and they can be initiated that quick. Left brain intellectual thought views the world through abstract concepts, names, labels, definition, words. Ancient Hebrew views the world through the heart with sensory experiences, through realities, meaning, and images. Ancient Hebrew letters are images in action. Ancient Hebrew has no concepts or abstract. Abstract thought is devoid of sensory activation. Ancient Hebrew words can be heard, seen, touched, tasted, and smelled. Lion genius learning occurs when the words are experienced as realities, not labels. This is where Google Images are at their best. Words like tractor and plowing are easy to turn from word labels to the physical realities they represent. The realities are easy to see. But what about words like compassion and confusion that do not represent physical objects? Ancient Hebrew would present a word of compassion and confusion and action, true reality. Google Images do the same thing with many words. They are so consistent that I suggest that Google Images should precede a dictionary search for definition. This is really something. I went to work with Alex Lloyd's son, George, because he had much the same kind of thing that Jamie did. And he had a word in a biology, and I didn't have the foggiest idea of what the word was. It's something that was defining something that was growing in the forest. I'd never seen the word or heard the word in my life. I go Google Images, put in the word, and instantly I'm seeing something that looks like a mushroom, but it's a special kind of mushroom. That fast, I went from, I don't know what this is, to knowing what this is. that quick, okay? Multiple images give your student a wide selection of opportunities to see what the blank screen word means and to select the image that the heart will place on the image maker every time they see the written word in the future. The impact of right brain learning is beyond calculation. So here's an example of compassion. What's that in? Google image, compassion. Okay. It's showing somebody loving somebody, somebody embracing somebody, somebody caring for somebody. That's compassion. Okay. Well, I can show it. You see Mother Teresa up there holding a baby in her hands. That's compassion. Okay. I love the picture of the parakeet up against the kitten. That's compassion. Okay. Well, it's not an abstract word anymore. Confusion. What's confusion? Well, look at this. Look at this next picture. That's confusion. Well, I can look and say, which one of these images do I want representing confusion? Well, I can select one, or I can look at all of them. I'd say, well, I don't understand what confusion is. You don't understand what to do. Confusion means you don't know where you are. You don't know what to do. You don't know. You're confused. So mass substitutes properly named work wonders. You can take colors. Watch this. If Google Images or YouTube is not available, you can tape words on Post-it notes and attach it to a mass object and activate the right brain genius. The substitute takes the world out of the left brain abstract world and replaces it with substance. So you know that it's not just a word, you know there's something else. There's an interesting movie that I really love that illustrates this wonderfully. It's called the movie Blind Sides, and it was of Michael Orr that was being taught how to run offensive football plays by his adopted sibling, SJ. The football players become real to the heart when represented by labels. So they got in the refrigerator, got all kind of condiments out, and put labels on for who's the quarterback, who's a halfback, where's all the players, and they just went through that, and they took these abstract, imageless words and replaced them with tangible images that were illustrating the action, and learning became a breeze. Definitions are cold, lifeless, and dead. Information without experience. Meaning is all about action. Meaning is all about experience. Remember, we talked about Einstein said, all learning is about experience. Knowledge is just about information. Big deal to him. So the subject comes to life to us when we see what the noun is doing. Otherwise, it's just a word subject. But if we don't see what the noun is doing, then what's it all about? The verb describes the subject's action, like run, running. That changes everything. The direct object is the noun receiving the action. I was taught subject, verb, direct object as left brain concepts, not as action movies. How about you? How about your student? Were we really ever taught, well, the subject is the one that is doing something, and what it's doing is toward something. And so if I am saying I'm not seeing each other except like this for a couple years. So if we were to see each other, then we would hug each other and we'd say, forget, don't hug. We don't believe that. We believe hug. So we would hug in action because we would be where we could do that and express the way we feel. That's wonderful. That's subject, action, direct object. A movie being seen. It's a movie. Now let's go on to something else. We're going into now the 5 things that Thea covered that are the foundational principles about the rediscovery of the heart. But now we're going to apply them to learning, and this is absolutely critical. We are where our hearts are. and we can't possibly be anywhere else. This was Michaela, me standing on the porch saying Michaela. She wasn't here. She wasn't here. So she didn't hear me when I said Michaela. When I said Michaela again, she didn't hear me. When I yelled Michaela, I got through. Okay. We are where our hearts are. We can't be anywhere else. This is fundamental, and it's hard to get because we believe that we can be more than one place at once. Now, we can if the place that we are is so embedded in our hearts that we don't have to think about what we're doing consciously. Driving a car. It's not safe to talk while you're driving a car unless you can drive a car and talk. But if you can drive a car and talk, then what produces the accidents with people trying to talk on these things? It's not the talking. It's turning them off and on or turning them up. It's when we look away from the road. It's not the talking. Because if somebody else activates this and sets it up, I can talk just as easy to a person on the phone safely as I can somebody sitting next to me in the car or in the back seat. Because my heart knows how to drive as long as my eyes are focused out here. My heart does that. Okay. So we are where our hearts are. We can't be anywhere else. Now let's apply this to learning. Michaela's not here. When we apply the Rediscover the Heart principle learning process, we have the secret that releases the line to learn and comprehend in a mind-boggling way. The left brain learning is laborious because the eyes of the heart constantly drift from the input coming from the soles of our eyes. This form of drifting, let's go on to the next thing. This form of drifting is as natural as breathing. It takes place spontaneously without a predominant cause. And all of us experience reading and studying material when we suddenly wake up and realize that our outer man, our soul body has been here, but that we've not been here because we've been someplace else. I don't know how many times this happened to me, but I've never talked to anybody that didn't recognize it. You're studying something, you're reading something, and all of a sudden you recognize that you've not been there. Why? Because a word on the page of something you can read can cause you to trigger and go someplace else. That's just amazing. The triggers out here can cause the image of the heart to activate someplace in the past so fast it's not even funny. Or something that you're hoping is going to happen in the future. It doesn't matter. Triggers. So we drift. There's nobody in the world that doesn't drift when they're learning. Drifting is absolutely simple, and it takes place with everybody. It produces instant blindness. We're not there, even when we think we're there. We haven't learned anything. But remember, there's no condemnation in this. You can't say to a student, you're not concentrating. You can't say that. Natural drifting is what's taking place. So the learning process becomes fun, but you have to recognize this takes place. A left brain explanation would be that our mind's wandering, and this wandering mind concluded would normally produce one or two misguided reactions. Now, that reaction might be that if somebody's studying on their own, now is not the right time for this study, I'll come back later. Well, maybe you will, maybe you won't. The second one is, I need to concentrate. I must try harder. Trying harder guarantees a return to the endless cycle. Trying harder to do whatever failed is left brain insanity. Learning is a different way. Learning a different way is what right brain creativity is all about. The Rediscover the Heart explains the problem precisely. The screen of our image maker was being dominated by the internal images coming from the thoughts of the heart while we're away from our studies. Study's still in front of us, but we're gone. We're not there. It's that simple. So we can only see what our hearts see. We could have been anywhere. We could have been playing games. We could have been failing the upcoming test. We could be seeing sweethearts or friends. We could be experiencing wonderful daydreams or a myriad of stress images. The trigger to leave our study can come from anywhere, a word, a picture from the same material, or it can come from a sound. A telephone rings and we hear it ring. The obstacles to study are everywhere. They're outside and they're inside. Whatever we'd rather be doing instead of studying will continually gain access to the image maker. Its dominance of the image maker is automatic and instantaneous. We can't keep it from happening. Natural drifting is not a big deal. Don't make it one. Natural drifting is easy to correct. Here's a two-step solution. Refocus on the last word or words that were on the screen of the heart. Now place the first material missed on the screen of the heart. How we do that? Close the eyes of the soul and read the material out loud with the eyes of the heart. You cannot be drifting if you're learning with your eyes closed from the words that you just took a picture of, because you know those are on the screen. If we use this ironclad technique every time natural drifting occurs without any correction or condemnation, we and our children will learn to soar in our capacity to learn. The second cause of drifting reveals a huge breakthrough. We don't see things the way they are. We see things the way we are. And we can't learn any material when the screen of the image maker goes blank. This is so simple, yet it's ignored on a widespread basis. When a significant word in the material being stored in the heart does not produce an image, no image is found. Can you go back to that slide, Thea? Whoops. There we go. Good. No image is found. How's that occur? I'm reading material, and all of a sudden a word shows up. I don't know what the word is. No image is found. Now watch. Learning stops immediately. And it gets worse quickly if that's an important word. The screen refuses to stay blank. Boy, I hope everybody's listening. The minute your student comes on a word that there's no image for, then the screen goes blank, but it will not stay blank long. And if some of the images clicks in, there's a huge problem. Any attempt to go past the imageless word results in a massive waste of time and guaranteed frustration if it's an important word. When you find your student unfocused, listless, and bored, you can rest assured that they are drifting. Drifting in this context means the student's heart is no longer seeing the material, and as far as the material goes, the heart shut down. The eyes of the soul may be looking at the material, but the heart is long gone, they're not there. The confusion, the loss of focus, and drifting which occurs when a significant word fails to produce an image will not disappear until you find the imageless word and learn its meaning. Boy, I don't know how to say this the other way, but the importance of this is just off the chart. And it's how I turned my son loose, who hated reading, hated studying, and then we found how to unlock him, and then we found this next principle. The imageless word will always be there. It has to be. So what are we talking about? Natural drifting does not mean that you came on a word that you didn't know what it meant. It just means you may come on a word that makes you may come on a word that causes you to go to what that word meant to you before in the past, or an experience in the past, or a telephone rings, or thought about a boyfriend or girlfriend comes up. That's natural drifting, happens all the time. This drifting is causal. It's not a trigger from someplace else that takes us someplace. This has a cause. What's a cause? Came on a word, don't know what it means. The screen went blank, it won't stay blank. So the imageless word will always be there. It has to be. The question is, where is it hiding? The word may not be close at hand. Both you and your student must learn that nothing is more important to the successful learning than discovering the image of the significant word passed over. Now, this is where your role as a mentor really takes on real importance. Finding the imageless word and filling the screen with the right image is the most important moment in the entire learning time frame. The minute that you come on a word in the material that you don't know what it means, there's nothing that is more important than learning that word. Nothing. It's more important than anything else on the page. You said, yeah, but I want to be tested by everything on the page. Yeah, but if you don't know what this word means and its significance, you're going to be screwed up learning what's on the page because there's a significant word that you don't know what it means. So this is it. This is where the fun really starts. See, it's about learning. It's not about learning what's in this material. It's about learning. Learning how to learn at the speed of light, what we're talking about. We're not talking about learning what the material is. Learning material is secondary. Learning the material we can get if we learn how to learn. We're talking about learning how to learn. Okay, so there's nothing more important to the entire learning process than finding the word that we don't know what it meant, where we left. Learning is the way we describe the movement from one moment to the next, where we learn something we didn't know, or we discovered that what we thought we knew is not true. Remember how we talk about that? Rediscover the heart. It's where I prayed a lot. Father, teach me what I don't know that you want me to know, and teach me what I believe that's not true. Big deal. The minute that we don't understand a word, learning stops. And until this most important lesson is embraced, you and your student will continue the impossible task of attempting to learn the material that follows the blank screen gap. If the material that follows is based on the word that we didn't know, it's over. Learning just instantly became hard. The first phase of the solution is the same to solve with natural drifting. Have your student go back to the last words that were flowing on the image maker screen before the drift occurred. This time, the lost treasure that caused the drift will be the first word from this point on that your student does not know. Eureka! This is a big deal. It's a great discovery, and the key to learning all verbal written instruction has just been found. This is the moment to unlock the lion genius moment. This is it, right here. Nothing is more important for the entire learning process than this single insight. The most important thing to learn now is the meaning of the current word that we do not know. The meaning of the image of this word can now become an active image on the screen. The image is as close as the latest release of a quality dictionary for children. Now, remember, 1984, there wasn't any such thing as Google. So guess what I got? I got a children's dictionary. Now, I've said this before, and people look at me like I'm crazy. But if you brought me to a subject, like I was once involved in an oil project, a drilling project in Israel, heavily involved there from 1980 to 1983. Guess where I went to find out about oil drilling? I went to the children's library. Guess the first time I heard about nanos. Guess where I went? I went to the children's library. I didn't go to some scientist, right, with big long haired words to tell me what nanos were. I went to the children's library so I'd have the simplest words with a lot of images. So what we got for Jamie was a children's dictionary. That's the dictionary you need, is a children's dictionary. Why? Because it's loaded with pictures. Okay. and it uses simple words instead of hard to learn words. Getting a clear image for a word that's not known is enhanced by learning the simplest meaning. Forget age level. This is not about age level. This is about image level. Can I get images here? Not can I get highfalutin definitions. Using an adult dictionary often produces a negative result because the definition may include other word or words that do not produce an image. What good does it do me to go look up a definition of a word, and in the definition there's two more words I don't know what they mean? Initially, these learning moments need to be a celebration. Enhance the experience. The minute that the word that was not known is known, make it high five. Yay! Big deal. We just had a great line learning experience. Now, what I said to Jamie, when you've looked up a word that you don't know, if you want to get up and go play basketball, get up and go play basketball. If you want to take a break, take a break. I don't care. Because what I'm teaching is learning how to learn, not learning how to learn the material on the page, learning how to learn. Well, guess what I found out? There weren't very many times he says, oh, I learned a word I didn't know, and now I'm going to go play basketball. Because now he's learning that learning is fun, and he's a genius, and he can learn. So he'd learn a word, and lo and behold, he'd be right back studying again with the material. But now he's got the meaning of the word that he didn't know, and the poison's been taken out, and he's fully engaged. And now he can go from 3 to 4 because he got 3. And he can go from 5 to 6 because he got 5. Okay, your student has discovered line-hearted learning. This is a big deal. Make it so. There's nothing that is more line-hearted learning than to be learning with the eyes closed, reading, seeing material with the eyes closed, and recognizing I don't know what a lion is, and finding out what a lion is. It's just wonderful. All right. Fun can begin again. Hard learning's over. I'm going to go through this little classic right here. Treasure Island. So think in terms of Treasure Island is what the whole thing is about when you're searching for the word that you don't know. And there's a really amazing little thing that takes place here. I did it with Thea, and I knew I could pick up, and we talked about it. If we get in too big a hurry here, and Sharon, we get to going too fast, the words we miss are the little ones. Because our hearts are already headed to the bigger part, and we can mispronounce. We can say it's 2 when it's 4, we can, those are the things that we can do. So the Lion Treasure Hunt Adventure, this is what it's about. The cover of this classic comic book is a powerful picture of your student lion being held captive by a left-brain pirate. The classic is based on a treasure map found in a packet of papers that have come into the hands of young Jim Hawkins. The metaphor serves us well. Line learning is a real treasure hunt for the words we do not know. The most important part of learning new material is learning the treasures hidden in the material. We have to find the blank screen word to discover the treasure. It's a treasure we're looking for. What? Wait a minute. You stop learning. There's a treasure here. Let's find. What's the treasure? The word you don't know. Here's a surefire way to find the critical missing word. Learning from the heart requires that both you and your student are utilizing the holistic right line view of the learning environment. The whole. You're watching. You're careful. As a teacher or mentor, you must be 100% fully engaged, heart to heart, with the student during all face-to-face time. This is absolutely essential in helping your student find the missing word treasure. You have your student read out loud. This is the way Thea and I write. Okay. Everything is reading out loud. I'm either reading to her, or if I've written and want her to read, it allows me to listen to her read, catch. She catches things, oh, that I missed. Okay. First, find the last material that your student understood. Starting there, you ask your student to begin reading out loud, not with their eyes closed, just read out loud. As the mentor, you must be fully focused on your student while they're reading. You must be 100% there. Your job is to watch for the small signals that indicate that the missing word has been found. It will be there. If you don't demonstrate we are where our hearts are, you can't teach your student this most profound truth. You can't be doing something else and teaching your student that you are where your heart is. You got to be there with it. Mispronounced words are obvious indicators. The lines found a treasure, and now you know what to do. Now, watch this. Just because your student pronounces a word accurately with the left brain ox does not mean the word created an image on the heart screen. If there's a hesitation, or there's a frown, or skipped words, no matter how small, it indicates that the imageless screen with the word or the blank is nearby. When there's a hesitation, why? Because the heart's out ahead. It's out reading out ahead. Okay. Hesitation, a frown, or skip words, no matter how small, let you know. When words like to, or as, or are skipped, it indicates that the screen is already blank, either from the missing word that's just been passed over, or has gone from blank from a word that's coming up, because the hearts can see words ahead. Hearts can see before the soul gets there. If you see any indications that peak performance has been erupted, do not let your student keep reading. These kind of subtle outward expressions are the way the lion roars. I did not see that, but the lion's not saying it, it's showing it. These reactions are automatic and instantaneous. Your student will not even notice. They'll just keep reading. You should stop your student with these words. I think your lion just found the treasure. Let's see if any of these words are the clue to the treasure hunt. Can you see the word that you don't understand? If you don't get an answer from your student, you should ask them to tell you the meaning of the words that are more likely to you. Once the meaning of the missing word is found, let your student look it up in the dictionary, let them use it correctly in a sentence, create a movie, celebrate. I mean, this is fun. The celebration increases if you find more than one word. You're doing something much more important than helping your student learn the current material. You're teaching them how to learn. You're releasing the lion genius in your student, and you're teaching the left brain how to submit to the real learning process. Soon your released lion will internalize the process and flourish without you. That's the learning treasure. Learning the meaning of one significant word at a time in the course of current package of study is a natural lion genius flow. Learning how to learn is exponentially more important than the specific material being studied. Let me say it again. Learning how to learn is exponentially more important than the specific material being studied. It's just wonderful. So, here are some miraculous right brain line words. What we believe in our hearts, what we really believe.
Larry, you want to do this, or you want to see if there are questions or comments? We're getting close.
Okay, yeah, we can do that. You're on it. You can be on it. We can come out of here and see, and we pick this up another time.
Okay, this is your time. This is the time to start asking questions, because until this moment we're not really paying attention to anything that's on the Q&A, because that would be distracting us. So if you have any question about what the things that we just shared.
I keep going back to people just with greetings
Mm-hmm.
or
Yeah,
say,
well, may take some time before they type it in.
yeah, okay.
You can use the Q&A function to ask your question, if you have one.
Fontaine Drummond, what's the name of the book that this is in? It's um, an Amazon Kindle. Learning how to learn at the speed of light. Okay. We got people that raised their hand. Let's still see how that works.
Leslie says this is how we replace negative images or incorrect images as well. This is relearning. That's it. The title of last week's teaching that has been posted is Learning How to Learn Part 1. It is in your, you can find it either in, if you're out of our affiliate world, it is in the affiliate account, and it is also on the website under division.
Hey, Karen, you have a question? Yeah. Hi. You're muted, Karen.
No, can you unmute your microphone? We're not able to hear you. You're unmuted, but we're not able to hear you.
You're still muted. Sorry. Can you type in? Angela. So Angela,
Gamer Jim is asking, I haven't gotten far in the book yet. Is this material there? Yeah, everything we're teaching here is over there in Learning How to Learn at the Speed of Light.
Karen, try one more time. No, we can't hear you. You're not muted, but for some reason we're not hearing you. Angela, you got something? Everett, you want to unmute?
Only raise your hand if you want to be brought in and share or ask a question, not just to say hi, okay?
Okay. Karen, I want to take you out since you're not been able to get this solved.
Larry, did you ask if I wanted to unmute?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Okay, I really didn't have a question. I was just listening for some of my grandkids to maybe step up and ask a question this morning.
Okay, well, This is great for grandfathers, I promise you. I got lots of experience with it. Okay.
A
Thank
big
you.
learning experience, I'll tell you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Okay, we got a lot of questions evidently that started coming over here.
Mm-hmm. Jerry is asking, can you speak about how to use this to help kids with math?
Not now. Math's another issue you can do. There's a great book on how to teach your children math on learning how with the Learning Institute, but it still is making sure that you're seeing the relationship between 1 and 2 before you go on to 3 and 4. Math is extremely logical, but when the people try to take it to us too fast. Okay, Celeste is saying, say a student is learning a list of spelling words. Any suggestion on how this works? Well, Celeste, I take it you've not been here before, because that's exactly what it's all about. They close their eyes and then they spell the word with their eyes closed because they get it on the screen of the image maker. And we told the story about my grandson, Clay, who came to see us, and he had 10 spelling words. They were all four letters, and he'd misspelled 5 of the 10. And within 20 minutes, I had taught him 10 words from a golf magazine that I knew he didn't know any of the words, and they were 7 to 10 letters long. So within 20 minutes, I teach him how to spell 10 words that he doesn't know from 7 to 10 letters long. And early in the day, he had missed 5 out of 10 4-letter words. But he learned to do it with his eyes closed instead of doing it memory. There's a total difference in the way we use the word memory. We're not talking about memory when we're talking about with the eyes closed. We're talking about taking a picture and that being stored on the image maker. Yeah.
Sam has a question. From what you just said, it appears that speed reading is not learning. Is that right?
I wouldn't say that. And wow, what is happening here? But yeah.
Yeah, this is
You're viewing Karen's screen. So we need to go over and take Karen's screen out. Okay, thanks. I'm trying to get down here to the question I was on.
Sam was asking about, it appears that from what you just said, that speed reading is not learning.
Okay. What I would say about that, Sam, is that the amazing thing about speed reading is that you can't speed read except with the image maker. You don't speed read with your soul. It's not possible. So I would never say that speed reading is not learning. There's a lot of superior learning often takes place at speed learning because you're taking speed reading is not, you're not verbalizing each word. Now, one of the men that we have respect for, I'm not sure he's right, but one of the men we have respect for says, yeah, you speed read exactly at the speed of sound, because even though you're speed reading, you have to be, without recognizing, articulating the words. I don't know that that's true. There's a book that's called Photo Reading that suggests you just go through and take pictures. You do it with a hump in the screen so that your soft eyes and it looks like you got a hump, and that you can actually be taking in material. So I don't know how to, I've never worked with that enough personally to know how efficient that is. Star is saying, I was thinking something you're right with. How did I do that? Because your right answered instead of your left. Star, you're a good girl, man. That's great.
It appears that with speed reading, the lion already takes much more in than the ox can realize.
That's it.
And I've had experiences with when I was in Holland, and I would be looking for articles you have to write a paper for school. You have an assignment, and you have to look for articles. You have to read material. So I would go and I would just glance over and scan if this is an article that is useful, that is relevant to me. I can do that easily, and everybody can do that. You just don't read the article, but you glance over that, you pick up the keywords, etc., and say, "Oh no, this is going somewhere else," or "Oh, this seems to be exactly what I need." And then I take that article and I start reading it so I can use the information for my paper. Now, when I came to Israel and I started to study in Hebrew, and I had to do the same, I recognized something, that I would have to read the article word by word, because I did not have the capacity to glance over, to scan, because I did not have enough word pictures ready and the word meanings. So I had to literally read the entire article to come at the end and say, well, this is not what I'm looking for. So I just wasted 20 minutes or half an hour, whatever the time it was to read it. So yeah, that is what happens also with speed reading. In a way, you're taking in the information without stopping for the details.
I'm gonna address what Rick Bird is asking. He said, back in the days before TV, would listening to stories and picturing be using the right brain? Picturing is the right brain. Images. The power of stories has always been that it's going to the heart. Stories go to the heart. Good stories got lots of imagery in them, and you can go. And it's interesting because one of the things that I noticed when I first started getting into this, that there would be certain movies that I could notice men tearing up that never teared up, because the images are being created for them and they're so left that when they are talking or when they are reading themselves, they don't get there as much. Another thing, the first time that I saw the very first, let me see what, Lord of the Rings. The very first time I saw the Lord of the Rings. No, it wasn't. It's the first Chronicles of Narnia. I was going into the bathroom, uh, and we were coming in as the movie were finishing, and we're about to go in. And somebody said to their buddy, "What did you think?" And he said, "Well, I thought it was good, but it wasn't as good as the book." And no movie is ever as good as the book if a person really gets in there. The reason is because you direct the movie of the book. It's the way you see the scenes. And then when some director decides this is the way the scene is going to be, and it wasn't like you saw it, you can say, well, they kind of blew that one, or they missed the scene that they should have included. This was an important scene that they left out, because they always have to leave scenes out. So music is a right brain function, except it can be left brain. So a person that plays a trumpet exquisitely, perfectly, they can hit every single note with precision. And somebody that is equally gifted but plays with their heart, there's no comparison between the two. Because when you hit every note exactly perfect, because you're doing it totally from the left, that does not mean you're experiencing the music. And the heart's not being released, and it means that the sound coming from the trumpet does not have the same quality as what comes from somebody that's playing and has the music totally on the inside and is playing from the heart. So in ancient Hebrew, the prophets would often ask for somebody to come and play to help them get out of here and get over on the right, so they'd be in a receptive place. Now, okay, that pretty much is it. It takes us to the bottom. There's more material here, but that's enough for everybody to get a really good feel about learning how to learn at the speed of light. It's with the eyes closed. Now, there's a couple people here who said, I can't close my eyes and see. It's not true. It means you've not done it enough to know that you can. But it's not true that you can't. You just have to keep doing it because you're very, very, very left brain. Okay. And so, but that doesn't mean you don't have a right. You could not. Everybody needs to know this. If you can safely drive a car, you got a wonderful right brain. Absolutely wonderful. And it performs incredible feats that are impossible for the intellect to do. It's calculating speed, it's calculating angles, it's calculating distance, it's observing what cars on the left or the right are doing, and you're not even thinking about what's on the left or the right. But your heart's monitoring what's going on. And you drive safely with your heart, and you hope the guy next to you on the interstate that's on dope is driving with his heart. Because if he is, he can drive safely, even though he's not totally all there. Okay? So we've just not been trained. We all came in this world functioning from the right, not the left. The left.
And the images are often very subtle. They're not like taking everything over. They're very subtle. Yesterday, I want to do groceries, so I made myself a list of things. Well, I'm thinking about what I need, what I want to make, what I want to cook, what I know what I have. But when I write it down, I also see it where it is in the grocery store. It just happens automatically. You can't keep from happening. It is just we have not been taught to be aware of pictures that we see. The moment that I get in my car and I decide where to go, and sometimes it's, well, I have several options to go, which would be the best way? I can ask my navigator, but I can also say, what is the best way to take? I see the way. If I can't see the way, I cannot drive. That is why when I come to a place that I don't know, I need a navigator, because I don't have a clue when I need to turn left or right or go straight. But when I'm in familiar places, I know exactly. I see the way before I get there. Yeah. That's how I know that I have to get into the left lane, because I'm turning left soon.
And this is all, again, the rediscovery of the heart is huge. We're talking about how it applies to learning here. But the principles that have to do with learning are the principles that have to do with life. Right?
Exactly the same.
The bottom line is that every single thing that happens out here, a smell, a feel, a sound, a sight, a hearing. Did I leave anything else out? That's it. The heart determines what that is. Your intellect doesn't determine what that is. And your heart is going to respond to what that is on the basis of what that sound means to you.
Yes.
And it may not be what happens to me. You know, can you imagine what it's like for a person that it's raining and there's two big semis on both sides of you and you're on an interstate? And you want to get around these semis, and there's a path that you can go right through the middle of them, and you're just, okay, that's what you're going to do. And when you get in there, they honk their horns. What happens? You're already in a state of heightened tension, because these are bad guys, you know, and it's slick and all that, and you're being careful. And somebody honks a horn, that's fight or flight big time, because you're so sensitive. Bam, it's like that. Well, the heart's the one that is responding to that sound. It's not your intellect. It's not your soul. It's like this. And it saves our lives. Fight or flight saves our lives over and over. We're just not supposed to be there all day. But our current experiences are interpreted by the heart as far as what they mean. That's huge. In other words, why does so much of life seem out of control? Because the soul can't control. Soul can't change the heart. So this is all really good. It's good for everybody to be here. Just remember from the whole business aspect, it's all about having an image of what we're all about. An image, just like Mike has said, is wanting everybody in the world to be in this, to get the benefit that's in this. That vision kept him going for 12 years. Everybody needs this. Everybody needs this. And he talked about Thursday night about the difficulty, the pits and falls, and all the kind of things we have to. Every vision has to go through incredible challenges to that vision. But the person who has a vision doesn't stop because they see the end. They see the end. That's what the vision is, the end result. And that's what we're all about. So everybody have a great rest of the day. Appreciate you being here. Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Bye,
Larry. Thank
everybody.
you.
Bye.